I do have a stash of boys just in case. Give me my child. Oh no. Ooh, we're in big trouble.
48 minutes of dogs barking. 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 Growl. Growl. 48 minutes of dogs barking. 48 minutes of dogs barking.
There's worse things to be excited about, I understand, but like
I think novelty, how we react to novelty changes as we get older. And I think, as we older, novelty changes, and I think the comforts become more important. Like a good pair of pants, good pair of socks. Like, geez, man, like, if I got, like, a really good, like, couple pairs of socks from someone for the holidays, like, now, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
Well, as kids, you hate getting socks and shit.
Yeah, because there's so much cooler shit to be stimulated by. But, like, as an adult, it's like, well, all the cool shit I could kind of buy for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But, maybe you forget to take care of yourself in some sort of way.
Oh, for sure.
Or, like, you have a hard time justifying spending, like, $25 on a really good pair of, like, merino wool socks, which actually would be cheap merino wool socks.
I was going to say, yeah.
I imagine people understand what I'm getting at.
I love medium tier Hanes socks.
Yeah.
Because it feels like they're made of, like, the beefy tee material. They're soft and it feels so luxurious.
Mike, you need to step up your sock
I
game.
know.
I'm gonna hook you up with some real shit.
You hit me on some game? What do you got?
Hit you on some games, some Stance, some Rourke.
Okay.
Some of that shit that's gonna make you feel a little different about life. When you put your shoes on, you go, yeah, I'm about to fuck some shit up.
See, I've heard those brands. I don't know nothing about them.
It's just a little bit nicer.
Okay.
They last a little longer.
What do you think about Bombas?
They're fine.
I keep hearing ads for them on other podcasts.
They're perfectly fine socks.
Fine. That doesn't set my toes to tapping. Fine.
Well, okay. So, like, they're a better fit. They're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They're good quality. I think they're a good value for the money. I think if you're willing to spend a couple more dollars, you can get something a little bit more hardy.
Okay.
If I found out someone got me, like, Bombas socks as, like, a Christmas gift, I wouldn't be pissed. I'd be like, oh, sick. As long as they were a color I like.
Like, what do you wear? like what are you wearing now?
These are like some generic hiking socks I bought off of Amazon like 3 or 4 years ago, and they're all slowly disintegrating. I either need to retire them. They're like a good medium weight where I work. Like they're not too warm, but they're warm enough that like if I'm sitting at my desk, I'm not gonna be fucking freezing.
Okay.
They're not like my my Norwegian wool socks I have, which I'm gonna be saving for when like it's 5 degrees out.
Yeah, my kids have some of those like really thick.
Oh, they're so fucking
fur lines.
But they're overkill. Unfortunately, the warehouse I work in, despite having some sense of climate control, it like lags behind the outside weather as far as like what you expect the inside to be like. Because like it's a 1.2 million square foot warehouse.
It's
like
pretty big, yeah.
You can't really keep it at like 70 degrees. So like, no one's in like most people I work with are understanding that, invest in a decent jacket, some good socks, whatever. Like
sure.
A good beanie. Because it never gets like so bad that like you're like freezing, you see your breath, because first of all, that's like illegal.
Right.
To operate a place like a space like that, among other things. But there's been times like when we were switching from late summer to early fall weather where I would like wear pants because it had been cold, or it was going to be cold that day, but it had been kind of warm the last couple of days, and I'm like fucking dying.
No.
That pair of pants just like fucking just like shoot me. And then the exact opposite, wear a pair of shorts and like thinking like, okay, what do I have a jacket in the back of my car? Okay, I'm just gonna I'm gonna look fucking goofy as hell today, but at least I won't be. But at least I'll be. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's like when I was like, oh, my kid got sick.
Oh yeah.
Shit, man. I just had to bounce out of the house, man. I don't have a fucking people don't know.
Right.
I'm also that guy that when people are like, Brian, you got kids? And I'm like, not that I know of.
Hey,
Like,
Uh-oh.
I've had some people give me a weird look, and some people been like, nice.
All right, yeah.
This guy's living a life where things are ambiguous. There might be, there might not. Who knows? Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men?
It
Who
is a
knows
mystery.
Who knows if there's some nearsighted redheaded children bopping into each other in some suburb of Memphis or something?
Well, that's 40 minutes of dogs barking. My name's Jason. That's Brian.
Where the ropes fly without abandon.
Well, you may have noticed that we're not immediately jumping into some story about Hawk 2 or whatever. Yeah, that's right. It is our best of 2024 episode. We're so glad to have you here. It is our Christmas present to you because this will come out on Christmas Day. We're just so excited to talk about stuff that we like this year. Well, at least I am. I don't know about you.
I'm glad that it's like not. We kind of have like a little bit of respite from some of our topics and some of the ones that have been more prominent this year.
Yeah, the bothersome ones, the crypto scams and all that. It's like, take a break. And we're doing that. And that's nice.
Jeez, yeah.
Isn't it? Nice?
Yeah, and then we say this, the next recording is going to be the vomit video.
I know. Well, brace yourselves. Yeah, that's that'll be a whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. What you... I'm going to be like one of those things where asking guys like, hey, man, you know, get some shrooms?
Right. Or,
Do some cyclobin? Like...
I got buckets ready. We're going to make it happen. Yeah, it's so I was trying to, and this is a very weird thing to say, but I was trying to like prep myself for the Garo Monster Home Delivery episode, which is going to be, as I mentioned before, and I mention it every episode, it is Patreon exclusive. If you get in at the $10 level before the end of the year, which means if you're listening to this on Christmas Day, you have a few days left. But anyone who gets in at that level before the end of the year gets a 90-minute commentary track on this Japanese puke fetish video. And so I was like, okay, I gotta, MST3K writers will sit there and they'll watch the movie 3 or 4 times before they write a single joke, right? So I'm like, okay, I gotta watch at least part of this to kind of psych myself up. And I realized like for the first 15 minutes, it's all, they pick her up from the airport. Mm-hmm. And it's like talking to her on the way.
Are there subtitles, by the way?
No, and so that's a whole other thing. But we'll muddle through it. I'll see if I can find a subtitle for it. So far, I've not been lucky, but
You only find subtitles like for like my stepsisters and stepmom won't stop fucking me.
there was a great one that I found subtitles for, and it was like, I don't remember the full title, but it was something like the sexy nun helps with all these problems. And it had the funniest subtitle I've ever seen on any porno. And she's gone through all these different scenarios. She's the nun. She's helping out. And, all these guys are kind of just doing their fetishes with her. And then at the end, she's confessing to the priest character and then getting it on with the priest, right? Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. We have to exorcise the demons in my pussy. And perfect.
Yeah.
Whoever translated that, just yes.
No notes.
You hit it right. Speaking of demons in someone's pussy, no, there's no good way to do that. There's no good way to use that.
How can you?
I know.
Oh, jeez, we're already going off the rails. I ain't even finished my first drink.
I know it's already starting.
It's already,
and I gotta catch a plane, so I gotta
I
work
a 12-hour shift.
I know. Yeah, we're in a bad way here.
Fucking, we're like, if we were a racehorse,
it'd be like guiding us with a carrot. Come on, they got a gun in the other end.
Into the horse destroyer. Hey, can I show you a video?
Why not? Let's see what you got.
What? A guy at work showed this to me. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast or maybe we talked off mic, but I have a coworker who's a little rowdy.
Yeah.
And I told you if I ever that I could ruin his life by explaining Chris Chan.
Yes. Okay.
I was like, tell him like, hey man, you ever heard Chris Chan? In the earshot of a coworker who is a bigger nerd than me, and I just see his face. He's on the other side of this guy. He has his look on his face like, don't do it. Yeah. Don't do this. Don't put this in the air. And he's like, Chris Chan? Who's Chris Chan? And he like pulls up his phone. He's just like, his mouth is just dropped. He's just like, oh
yeah.
And so like, okay, I guess we have to explain like things. Yeah, don't worry about them. They're just trolls from the internet. Which also, I think, upset the nerdy coworker that I could do a pretty
decent Christian voice. Yeah.
Oh, Julie.
You almost had me there. You almost got me. I need you to get all that stuff off the internet right now. I'm working on it. Yeah, just.
So my coworker's like, you just want to see like a really wild video, and so he shows me this.
It's 2-liter explodes and stuns dog. Okay, so we're first-person camera down into what looks like a backyard or something. Okay, oh god.
It's like a little whippet.
Yeah, a little whippet, and the little dog is just chasing it around. Okay. Little boxer or whatever. Oh, Jesus!
The dog is apparently okay.
Jesus! It looks like the dog just like drops. Like all 4 legs go out from under him. He hits the.
And then it goes. I'm sorry. Then auto plays to a Castlevania long play. Portrait of Ruin Blind Run number 6.
Portrait of Ruin? Oh boy!
He just showed it to me, and I was just like. I was like expecting that someone had probably edited this and put like Half-Life 2 sound effects.
Something, yeah.
Like put like the head crab sound when they exploded. But that dog just like flips over onto his back, does not move. The 2-liter has left some sort of mark on the ground.
Jesus. Well, I'm glad the dog's okay, but Jesus Christ, it looks bad. Like it looks like that dog is just gone.
The dog is stunned.
Yeah, it does what it says on the tin.
The video is not misleading.
Yeah.
The same coworker whose life I've ruined by explaining Christian to is he made a one guy one jar reference. I'm like, you know that guy has other videos.
He's on TikTok.
I was like, tell me more. I'm like, well, there's one where he pulls a flathead screwdriver out of his urethra, and he's like, "Oh," I go, "From the wrong end," and he's like, "The big end first."
Yeah,
I'm like corrupting this guy.
Yeah,
he's already corrupted, but it's like
right.
I'm feeding it. I'm feeding this terribleness, and he's also one of those guys like, you know how I get around being so fucked up, get away with being so fucked up, and I'm like, why? He's like, I'm really fucking good at my job, and he is.
Yeah.
But like he's also a guy that like a nickname I have for him is Rosebud.
Oh bye. Okay.
It's time for your mom's favorite part of the show. It's time for the Breathmint.
Yeah, so this is the Breathmint Best of 2024. It's really good to start out with television. We spend a lot of time with television, especially I did this year. I felt like there was a lot of good stuff out there. I've got one of my first, and again, this is not in any particular order, but things that really stuck with me. Number 1, Fallout. Fallout as a TV adaptation of an existing property is probably as good as you're going to get. The cast is great. Everyone in it is just at their top of their game. It's really well written, and it definitely feels like if a fan production got a big budget, this is what it would look like. And there's just a lot of love on screen. I feel like it stands really, really tall in a time when there's a lot of good but not great adaptations of things happening. It's this and Last of Us as far as like video game stuff that's like really understood, A, the source material, and B, what you can do with television as a medium. Personally, Ella Parnell fucking kills me. I always liked her from Yellow Jackets onward, but this is where I was like, this is a star. This lady's a star. Don't sleep. And of course, Walton Goggins. You can't. Walton Goggins. He's a guy. End-to-end entertaining. Kyle MacLachlan. Almost forgot that he was even in that. And it teases a new Vegas thing.
Yeah, I think what I enjoy about it is it being a West Coast Fallout story. And it having a place in the canon, apparently, of the Fallout story. Yeah, I enjoyed the TV show quite a bit. I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would.
Yes.
I had some pretty low expectations, but then like the first reviews came out and I started seeing the first rumblings on social media. I was like, oh, okay, there's something here. I can fuck with that. And I think I went through the first season in a matter of a couple days because I had some downtime. Well acted, a good understanding of the source material, a really good understanding of the humor that can be present in Fallout. Production value is pretty good. The ghoul makeup looks great. The special effects are just good enough. In that way of like, they're realistic, but they also have something that feels like a little 50s sci-fi.
Yeah, like a B movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like, wow, they get it. I mean, that's what I feel about The Last of Us as well, is that, oh, you understood the source material, you got the right casting, you got the right writers, and it doesn't feel like, like the first Resident Evil movie where it's like, who is this for?
But that is something I'm actually looking forward to next year. Is I'm going to sit down with all 8 Resident Evil movies.
I think it probably peaks in the second and third movie.
Yep,
And
I would
there's 8
imagine.
of them.
I've seen them all. I'm going back through, and I'm gonna sit there and watch them all because
I might want to embark on this journey with you.
Okay,
just for my own sake. I was also thinking, like, I talk about the first Resident Evil movie, but like, what about the Resident Evil Netflix series?
Oh God, Welcome to Raccoon City. Yeah,
no, that was the movie.
Oh, that was the movie. Oh,
there was
wow.
a Resident Evil Netflix
series
that only ran for one season.
I completely forgot about that.
People were mad because Wesker was black. And
that's what you're mad about?
I think also it just had like a bad story. It felt like a really bad season 1 that could have turned into a really good season 2, but we'll never know because, the guy who played Wesker died.
Yeah, that's kind of a big issue. Yeah,
whose name escapes me.
Are you talking about?
He did Destiny.
Lance
Reddick.
Reddick. Thank you. I got the
Don't
first.
you rainbow road me, motherfucker!
Where's my sleigh roll?
I wish I was LeVar.
Wish I was LeVar Burton.
It's so good. Also one of the best Eric Andre appearances.
And it's "Don't you reading rainbow me."
Don't you read rainbow me, motherfucker.
I think he actually says the N-word at the end of it. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Lance Reddick. God damn.
And finding out that Eric Andre and Hannibal Buress were both like out of their depth when that was all happening, basically. They were just terrified.
Lance Reddick was genuinely a funny son of a bitch. Like, if you ever saw, there was a TV series called Corporate that he was on.
Yeah, I know of it.
Fantastic. And he's just funny as shit in that role.
I will give to his credit in the Resident Evil show, not to get off the rails too much here, that he is probably one of the best parts, if not the best part of the show, because he is able to. So there's Wesker clones.
Okay.
And one of them is like a comedic character.
Oh, okay.
And he's able to be like the serious, calm and collected, like the father, and then also
he gets a little silly with it.
there's a version that's Wesley or something like that, or Uncle Wesley, and that's like the Wesker clone that like was wrong, the wrong clone, as it were. He was the bad one.
Okay.
But yeah, he's like has some really great comedic moments and just really great characters. Like being able, like, yeah, what if you were as smart as this character, but you were a sarcastic asshole that also didn't take shit nearly as seriously?
I'm into it. Yeah.
So it's like basically getting like really. There's a scene where he's giving exposition while eating like a hamburger, and he's just starting like, yeah, yeah, he died in a volcano. This guy punched like a boulder. Just real serious shit. Like, so are the ones that are left.
That's pretty fucking amazing. But on the topic of Netflix, they did yet another one season. I don't know if they're coming back with more. The 3 Body Problem. That's another one that's on the list.
we gotta have another Chinese millionaire to get murdered for that. Who's gonna step up?
Looking at my watch. Well, that's about all for the show. No, but I do like the casting was always great in that. I love to see BD Wong doing non-Marvel stuff. It's nice to see him. But most of the cast was kind of unknowns. You had some of those great character actors whose names always escape you. But it was an interesting adaptation. It really stuck the landing as far as certain moments in the book. And then some moments from the second kind of placed out of order, but it made sense narratively. It's, the guys who did Game of Thrones, so it's like, okay, they have a source material to work from. They can really get something happening here. Took a little bit of doing with, they put on this helmet thing to go into this game, but the game is really communicating with aliens. It looks a little silly at first, but you eventually kind of stumble into it, you warm up to it. And just overall, just like as an experience from end to end, it's 8 episodes. They're longer than your traditional 45-minute drama. And I know 2 adaptations on my list, so it's not I'm not saying it's a bad year for original ideas in television. I'm just saying that sometimes the adaptations can really get you. And I think this one is exceptional just in the way that, because there were several movies already made in China that were very, very faithful. And this one's a little bit more loose. Some characters are kind of combined and some characters are left out of the narrative entirely. But they focus on the stuff that I always remember from the books and things that kind of made an impact in the story. So it's like, okay, well, I don't really feel that loss as much as someone maybe who is stricter about adaptations. I feel like when you adapt something, you can lose some stuff and still be okay. But yeah, three Body Problem, really just a banger of a sci-fi series. HBO really fucked up by not picking this one up, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, HBO has a couple things in their pocket this year. Definitely not Doom Prophecy.
Really? Oh no.
I've heard it's bad.
Well, they have Creature Commandos, which it's not done yet, so it's not on the list. But I've been enjoying what I've been seeing because they got the whole DC license thing, and they got James Gunn doing animated series, and Alan Tudyk's in it. And anyway, Creature Commandos, check that out when you can. It's not over yet. Episode 4, I think, is dropping tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that.
I wish I could say the latest season of You, but we have not finished that yet.
Bummer.
What I have completed Penguin.
Oh yeah.
Again, everything's a fucking adaptation.
I
That's
know.
what I'm talking about. But that's just kind of where we are. Colin Farrell, just really disappearing into that makeup and into that character. The Matt Reeves Batman universe feels really lived in, and this kind of fleshes it out, gives us a little bit more depth to what this world is about.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it is definitely better than what we got with the Justice League bullshit.
Yeah.
The just real corny stuff. And this feels not so grounded to like a fault, but what I did like about the Batman is it felt like a procedural.
Yes.
It was gritty, and you're not seeing Batman as like this perfect detective.
Yeah.
You're kind of seeing him fuck up. So having a world where everything's not perfect or perfected yet, or in their roles as we know them in the media properties that they're coming from, it's kind of fun. It's kind of neat to see this interpretation of the Penguin that's a little scrappier. That is like a little bit more of a different type of criminal, like mastermind in a way. How he's playing all of the criminal families against each other to try and get power, and like how he fucks up, how he does right. And at the end, he is kind of on top in a way, but you see so much that he sacrifices. I'm not going to say every single episode is a fucking banger, but there's a few, like, it'll be like this. It's better than the fucking Watchmen HBO shit.
While I liked that, I can see what you're saying.
What if Dr. Manhattan was like a really boring dude named Calvin? Damn, man. This is a guy that wrote The Leftovers. Damn, he's just full of great ideas.
This is a big Watchmen nerd you're talking to, so
yeah. I tried to revisit it. I'm like, this just hurts. Not to go off on a tangent. The Watchmen thing also seems like surprisingly anti-woke.
Well, yeah,
oddly conservative politics, because like the first murder in the show is because the cop can't get his gun free.
Yeah. Despite all that, it's probably the first place a lot of white Americans ever heard of the Tulsa race riots, so
yeah,
it's a mixed bag.
It's a mix of, yeah. We need to self-examine ourselves on that one.
Just a touch, yeah.
Just a little bit critically. But really just Colin Farrell disappearing into that makeup.
Christina Milioti as the young daughter there of the Falcone daughter.
Yeah, as Sophia, just fantastic. Some red herrings of one character maybe perhaps being the Scarecrow.
Ooh.
Which is an interesting idea. But just feels lived in. It feels like The Long Halloween. Not heavy-handed, but grounded. But it feels real in a way that I think a lot of Batman shit isn't. That's the part of the Batman that makes it my favorite Batman movie, is it has this really nice tone this really great cinematography, this attention to detail. You know, using old Russian camera lenses that have been adapted for like, you know, large format digital video cameras, and getting that really unique bokeh that you can only get with like a Jupiter 7 or a Jupiter 9 lens that you see in the Batman. I think you can see, I think they probably use those lenses on a couple shots. And Penguin, there's just a little bit of art to it that
There's attention to detail.
yeah, it's fun. Fucking watch it. I can't say there's any other TV off the top of my head that I have watched extensively. I tried watching the Rick and Morty anime.
Whew.
It has its moments, but also I'm just like, again, who the fuck is this for?
I got 10 minutes into the first episode and said, I'm good.
Yeah, it's
I'm good.
I stuck with it because I was unemployed.
right. That's a very different situation. Yeah.
But I mean, there's 15-minute episodes and all that, and there's a couple that are like, this is like this. It feels like a throwback to early 90s anime that would have ended up translated with some competency, ending up on like USA like Saturday morning.
Okay.
It'd be a lot cooler if it was just like its own IP.
Oh, yeah.
And not Rick and Morty, because it feels really weird sometimes. Like, there's a really interesting story here, and it's a throwback to a type of anime that I think some people probably grew up with in a weird way. I just wish it wasn't Rick and Morty. I wish it was his own thing.
From what little I've seen of it, it really does remind me of things like Fooly Cooly, some of the wilder stuff that Shinichiro Watanabe does with like Excel Saga, or these kind of wacky...
This weird magical realism, but it's like technology kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, a Benobashi magical shopping arcade. Like there was even maybe a scene or two ripped straight out of Serial Experiments Lane. Like there's some real odd... late 90s, early 2000s techno fetishistic stuff that anime could get away with.
But this shows you like how much I've been like watching stuff that's been like serialized TV or prestige or whatever. But yeah, the Penguin, it's fun, it's interesting. The worst thing I can say about it is that some shit was obviously filmed on the volume, which is my least favorite thing of everything. But it's not as miserable as The Mandalorian. I rather fall into the fucking tiger exhibit at the zoo trying to scratch my nuts than watch The Mandalorian again.
The only other piece of TV that lives up to my high standards is, oddly enough, Baby Reindeer. Are you familiar with this one?
Oh.
So it was a Netflix show. It was based on a stage play that this guy wrote about this woman who came into the pub he was working at and just glommed onto him. It's this whole show about obsession, but he's also kind of an addictive personality, and so he kind of lets her because he likes the attention.
Right.
And it's fantastic, and it has this, you can tell it's straight out of the stage play moment, because he gets up on stage and does this whole monologue near the end of the season. And honestly, it's just kind of probably a one and done, because there's really not much else of the story to tell.
Right.
Because it's probably a limited series, as they call it, but it's funny and dark and weird, and it's an interesting portrait of a guy who, desperate for attention, allows this person to kind of consume his life. I think about it a lot. So that tells me, okay, this was good. This something rang a bell. Because I was like, oh yeah, I remember being like this about this girl in college. I can see myself in this character. That's not good. But it's also like, this is the mark of something that's well written and and the performances are all over the place. Some of them are just bang on, and then there's some side characters where you're like, what show are you in? I don't know. It feels very much like something that Channel 4, BBC would have. I'm surprised it wasn't. It's also maybe even a bit too foul-mouthed and all that for Channel 4. So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Until we can get more Black Mirror, I think that's all the Channel 4 we're going to get on Netflix. Moving on to the category of video games. Probably one of my favorite categories to talk about. One of my top ones, oh brother, Animal Well. Did you play Animal Well, Brian?
I haven't, because it's not on Xbox.
Oh, it's not. Oh, shit. Okay.
I know. I mean, it's on PC. I've not been PC gaming lately. I've heard a lot about it, and I think the thing that always cracked me up is finding out that like the PS5 theme takes up more space on the hard drive than the actual game itself.
That is absolutely true.
It feels like people got excited about it the way that people got excited about Cave Story 15 or so years ago.
Yeah. It's almost got the same story.
Yeah.
You know, it's this one. It's the labor of love, and it did get a lot of press because YouTuber Video Game Donkey had it as the first game on his fledgling publishing title, Big Mode. So it was a Big Mode game, and he chose very well. The creator Billy has gone on a bunch of other shows talking about why he did. And it's like, you know what? Honestly, Billy, great, glad to hear from you. But it's going to get overshadowed, unfortunately, because Donkey's such a big personality and people, you know, it's that kind of thing. At the same time, it's just such a singular game experience. You're this little guy, and you're getting out of the well. That's the whole game. It collapses every little thing you love about old Metroid, you know, everything you love about Symphony of the Night style gameplay. Even there's some stuff where it feels like out of some random NES game, like A Boy and His Blob. Like there's
right. There's just all these little bits of inspiration or reference that are not overt.
Again, it's handmade. He does all the animal noises himself. You know, all the music he made. Everything is done, and there's a very clear stamp of like, this is one guy's passion project. It took like 8 years to make, and it shows. Like every inch of the screen is packed with detail. There's just, the game is alive in this way that like a lot of, I mean, even Hollow Knight isn't nearly as alive as something like this is, which is not to throw shade at Team Cherry. It's just that's the amount of time and effort he was able to commit to making it just what he wanted, and he did it, and it's fucking salute to you, brother Billy.
Yeah, it just feels like one of those indie games that only comes around every 3 or 4 years, like an Undertale or something, or Vampire Survivors, or
and thankfully it was a hit, because you know what I mean, like thankfully, just like those other games, like, it got enough attention and all that to like, okay, there's still scrappy indies out there, because if you are like me and you listen to Yahtzee or, you know, Stephanie Sterling or any of these other people that are like commentating on the state of video games, it sounds pretty dire when those people are talking about it. But then you get a game like Animal Well and it's a hit, and you're like, okay, things are going to be okay, actually.
Everything's going to be fine, guys.
Another game that made me feel like everything was going to be fine was Helldivers 2. Brian, I know you played that a little bit at least.
Yeah, I gave up pretty quickly. Not because I disliked the game, just because like scheduling. And I felt like also every single time I wanted to play with you, we have different hours.
Yes,
like
we
you
do.
want to play at like 1 a.m. and I'm like, I can't keep my head up.
Right. Well, and it is definitely a game that is better with friends.
Absolutely, but
even playing with randos, though, you'll still find a good teammate every once in a while.
Yeah, I did not hate it. I would like to probably go back and revisit it at some point. It seems like they keep building it up. They've been releasing new stuff. I'm gonna say if someone told me it was one of their favorite games of the year, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a collaborative game, so you always love those. You know, it's really hard to keep up with things like competitive shooters or all that, and so something where have a team and have a goal. I mean, think about the lasting legacy of something like a Left 4 Dead, or you know. Those ones where you're working with other people as opposed to... Man,
I would love another Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I heard Back 4 Blood tried to do it, and it just wasn't... It
wasn't right. It just didn't... It was so close to being good.
Yeah. I don't know. That's so hard, getting people to cooperate in a game. Getting people to want to cooperate in a game. And I think what Helldivers 2 does really well is that by... essentially setting you up in a hopeless situation against all odds, you and your teammates then kind of become bonded, you know, trauma bond or whatever. But
yeah, like the game design is such that it's really hard to like troll each other.
Oh, it's easy.
But there's no it's much more interesting to play the game cooperatively.
Yes.
Like, it's not like playing an online racing game where you turn around, drive backwards, and try to fuck everyone else up. There's enough carrot on a stick stuff gameplay wise that like you want to at least try.
Right. Yeah, you are definitely incentivized to try.
And again, the more interesting emergent gameplay is trying, is the fucking barely making it out alive. For the 10 or so hours I was able to put into it, I had a couple games where I would just like hop on people that were on my Steam list I hadn't like played games online with for like years, and just like, oh, hey, what are you doing? Like, you know, I got a wife and kids now. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, some guy I used to play World of Warcraft with, like in 2008.
Oh wow.
Just shit like that. Like it was a neat way to reconnect with some people I like knew from like YCS and like the Something Awful forums and other places on the internet. People who used to run Left 4 Dead servers that I used to like fucking religiously play on. That had weird mods and there was a point when before it was officially released by Valve, there was some people that hacked together the Left 4 Dead 1 maps to play with Left 4 Dead 2. So stuff like that, which was super fucking weird and fun, and that was a neat social gaming aspect that I hadn't had an opportunity to experience in a while.
Yeah.
So that I really appreciate. So yes, I'm going to agree with you that like Helldivers 2 is one of the best games of the year.
Also on my list, it's a bit of a toss-up. I want to give it to Persona 3 Reload only because Persona 3 is my favorite Persona game. And seeing it so lovingly remade in the Unreal Engine with all these little quality of life improvements was nice, and it really made me appreciate the history of the game more. But I gotta give it really to Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
How'd I know?
How did you know? Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for Yakuza games, and since the last one became turn-based, I've kind of been like, well, it's fine. I kind of want more of the old Kiryu style, stuff. But Infinite Wealth, it turned me around. I was like, no, you know what? No, Ichiban rules. The new system rules. This is great because every quality of life improvement you could have asked for is there. You've got an entire bit of the game where you're separated into two different parties. One of them dedicated to going back through and reliving the best moments of Kiryu's life in Kamurocho. So the Yakuza fan in me was having that nostalgia, but you're also having this other adventure in Hawaii at the same time. And there's just so much game there. It's a game with everything in it. Fishing and darts and this and that. I mean, I could sit here for an hour listing all the different stuff you can do. There's a fucking fully blown Animal Crossing clone in this game.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
There's a Pokemon.
Fuck with people on segways.
The writing the segways is a hoot. I love it. It feels like there's so much more than there's ever been. Like every Yakuza game, even from like the big jump from like 5 to 6 was huge, right? Because 6 was such a huge game. And then when they brought out 0 was almost bigger than 6 because you played both Kiryu and Majima. And then they remade 1 and 2. Okay. But then you've got 7, which was the first in the Like a Dragon series here in the States. And that was a pretty big game, but it feels like Infinite Wealth is like, this is massive. We've now gone out so far that we have 2 entire maps that are all huge, and there's just so much to do. Because I spent, I think, probably the longest with that game than any other game I played this year, which says something, because I spent a lot of time with some games. But yeah, that one dwarfed it all. I think I spent somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 hours with that game this year. And that's with taking like a month off to play Call of Duty for a while. So it's pretty impressive for me as a 40-something-year-old man to log those kind of hours, because most games I play don't require that amount of time, but also I don't want to play them for that long. And then I just got to give a little tip of the hat to a small indie game from a group called Coal Supper. The wacky, you can finish it in 2 hours. It's called Thank Goodness You're Here. It's a very, very silly game. Thoroughly British. You've got Matt Berry in maybe 2 roles. I think it's at least 1. Billy Connolly. You're this little bitty guy who's going around trying to fix all the problems in this little British town. And it's silly. It's perverse. I
heard about this. Yeah.
Yeah. It's such a fun little game. And it's one of those ones where you can pop it on and finish the game and be like, that was a hoot. And then be done. And I like that sort of thing. That's nice to see that. What about you, Brian? Any games stick out for you this year that we haven't talked about?
I haven't really played anything new. There wasn't a lot of new stuff that really jumped out at me or that I felt like I was going to have time for. Like, Helldivers 2, I spent some time with. We Love Karamari Reroll.
Oh!
Which I think came out last year, but I've spent some time with that. And that is really just a super sweet, fun comfort game for me. And people always find that a little odd that's like, oh, that's one. I love Katamari is one of my favorite games of all time. Just the tone, the bizarreness of the writing,
The music.
but it's just like it's so surreal and cheerful in a way that doesn't feel insincere.
Yes.
And I think that is why it resonates with people, because it is so, it's a little sugary, it's upbeat,
Yes.
but it doesn't feel like a put on. It doesn't feel like it's in positivity or upbeatness or colorfulness, in the obfuscation of like, the fact that the world sucks or something.
Right. Because even the King of Space is like, oh, I got drunk and I lost all the stars. Can you help me get
Hey man, you cool to help me with this? So that's just something I spent a little bit of time with this year. Trying to think besides Elden Ring. I think it's really just been Elden Ring. Like, Shadow of the Erd Tree is just almost better than the main game. It's a little bit more condensed. I think the issue that most people have with it is that if you're a lore nerd, some of the mythology gets a little confusing. It answers some stuff and then actually seems to unanswer some things that people thought was set in stone with the mythology, and some things as far as mythos go does get revealed and it's unsatisfying, or like this doesn't feel totally correct. That's the biggest criticism I seem to get from people. And even then, they will still say like, "What a great game! What a great experience!" People have been doing, different playthroughs. You've got fist arts.
Yeah.
A couple spells that are kind of broken, but in like a way that feel really fun and not cheap. Some interesting ways to change up your play style, to experience the game differently, because it is a much harder game. But I didn't find it honestly that difficult. Maybe I just was locked in. It wasn't like coming back to Bloodborne after like a year and realizing like my rhythm is completely fucked. A lot of stuff just feels correct, rhythmically, input wise. The biomes are really beautiful. The enemy design is really fun. The only complaint I have about the enemies is a lot of them have too many like endless chains, it feels like.
Yeah.
It's not like the base game or some of the other Souls-likes where like enemies, they do like 2 or 3 hits at most. There's some bosses that go on for like dozens of hits or dozens of attacks, and it just feels a little exhausting. But I do appreciate that they were trying to change up how you approach high risk or boss encounters and things like that. I just wish it was a little bit less.
Turn that down a bit.
But also some really fun weapons. It just feels like an interesting love letter to the base game and expanding on a lot of ideas. And it's just fucking fun. It captures the fun of exploring in the original game while condensing that experience. It plays a little tighter. Honestly, kind of points out where the game design in the original kind of falls flat. In the base game, there is just kind of like a lot of nothing in certain spots. But in Erd Tree, it's hard to go riding more than a minute in any direction without stumbling across something. Totally worth the money. There's a reason why it's pretty much been getting millions of Game of the Year awards, even though it's a DLC.
Yeah, that's such a shock, isn't it? Like,
if you were to play it, you would be like, oh yeah, this is Elden Ring 2.
and I'm hearing that the new expansion is also going to be about the same level of interesting, let's say.
I really just had a really great time being unemployed and playing the fuck out of that game. I was just like, all I did was like go to the gym and play Elden Ring and like hang out for like a month. I'm like, it was the only cool part about being unemployed. Plenty of time for playing Elden Ring, and I'm still not done. I still haven't beat it. I still have some places I'm exploring. I'm taking my time. I'm not rushing. I kind of got to the end game quicker than I had expected. But I'm like, fuck it, I'm not done. I'm gonna go back and like find all the other stuff I hadn't done, and it's just like a fun, weird game in some respects. It just feels complete. It just feels unique. I say this knowing that there's been Souls-like games and Souls-born games, whatever you want to fucking call them.
Yeah, but it's like a distillation of everything that they've done.
It feels like a perfection of that idea.
As far as movies this year, there's just so many, and I'm gonna have to just pare it down. probably my top movie of the year is The Substance. Just hands down. It's gross. It's funny. It's weird.
Makes you feel bad for being horny ever.
And it does still at the same time have sort of kind of a message. What more do you want out of a movie? It's gross. It's scary. It's got great acting. Everybody in it is just hitting those marks. There's really not much to complain about in the movie, with the exception of how long the ending is. But even that is just because, like, okay, we get it.
It's a fun ending.
Right.
I do agree the third act goes on a little long.
Just trim a little bit here and there. We'll be fine.
But I think it would not have been such an issue had the movie been a little quicker paced, which is weird to say because I think the movie moves at a pretty good clip.
Yeah.
But it definitely feels a little heavily weighted in that third act, even though it's still a blast. But it does, you're just like, man, all right, how much more of this can I take? It does start to try your patience, even though it's still enjoyable.
Right. But I got to give it up for Demi Moore. Kudos. Even Margaret Qualley. And I remembered something as I was talking about this again.
You know, those aren't her real tits.
I heard that. But
I know, man. Life is just full of
a series of disappointments. Yeah. But no, I remembered something else that television-wise that I'd seen this year. It wasn't from this year, so it was not qualified to be on the list, but it was a show called Made. She's the lead in that. I was like, oh yeah. Aside from Death Stranding, she was also the lead in the show Made. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's out of this world. Fucking Dennis Quaid. What the fuck?
Just a disgusting pig man.
A filthy, nasty man.
You turn 50, you lose it.
And as you see this, he's just chowing down on crayfish or something, where he's
Prawns,
taking
shrimp.
and the sound effects are just so gross, and everything's just obviously the movie's telling you this is a disgusting man. And it's so unsubtle with any message it ever has. It's like hitting you with a hammer over and over again. Do you get it yet? Yeah, okay. God, stop. At the same time, it's still a hoot. You can't not watch that movie and come away with anything other than like, oh my God, or that was awesome, or, you know, like it evokes all those responses from somebody who watches it. Because I've showed it to my wife after I had seen it twice already. And on the third viewing, I was still like, Jesus Christ, this movie. That's the sign of a good movie, if you can watch it multiple times and still have that same.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true for my other movie on the list, which was Dune Part 2.
Absolutely. What a fucking movie.
Movie.
Jihad never seemed so awesome.
They really did make it look really good, didn't it? Boy, Denis Villeneuve, this was the movie he was born to make. I know that's hyperbole to say it, but I mean, if you've seen any of his other films and you kind of are clued into his visual style, he's born for this shit. He fucking loves it. I mean, going pure black and white for the sequences on a different planet, Austin Butler just being in the movie and being like, yep, this is not Elvis, brother. This is somebody way fucking different.
I forgot he did Elvis, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, also my favorite meme of when someone explains the rules of a game to me, and I immediately forget them, and you click it, and it's, what do we do?
Well, the crossover meme with him kissing the Baron, and then it's the smiling friends. Like, you kiss your uncle on the mouth?
Oh yeah, there was Smiling Friends season 2 this year, which was also
there sure was. Yeah,
that's definitely God, what a fucking amazing surreal show. But anyways, yes, back to Dune 2.
You kiss your uncle on the mouth? Yeah. I couldn't get enough. I wanted more. I wanted it to be twice the length, but that's fucking insane. I know that we're getting the Dune series, which you said is not good.
Apparently it is doo pee pee. I've not had the free time to waste.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, if I've got like an hour.
Right. I'm not going to waste it on this.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste it on something like I'm going to be hate watching, because I don't think personally like Dune is that interesting.
I can see what you're saying, but I mean,
is the ultimate gate-kept nerd shit for, I think, for most nerdy white men's childhood.
Yeah.
You know, you aren't smart enough. Your parents weren't crunchy enough.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It was the cool like nerd that was never going, immediately going to like move to San Francisco and murder a homeless man kind of thing.
Yeah, like every adaptation we've had of Dune since David Lynch, though, has just been diminishing returns. And so the fact that we even got 2 good ones to begin with is nothing short of a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with what we got. I'm very satisfied with Dune Part 2. I think even if there's nothing else of value that comes from this, the fact that Dune as a cultural object still continues is interesting to me. Because, this is an old-ass book.
A guy who was just doing cocaine and reading about, Islam.
Yeah.
And being worried about the environment.
Yeah. Hey, I mean...
that tweet about, I love cocaine and Islam.
Well, it does really feel... I mean, if you read the book, it's just... like, yep, this is very clearly what happened here. Yeah.
It's just
This is it.
Just a visually beautiful movie, again, using the vintage Russian Soviet era camera lenses adapted for film. Again, the scenes where the emperor and his daughter in that garden, like I'm watching it at super. I think I was watching like the 70mm print or whatever.
Okay.
At the theater I went, and like this is me like sitting there, like just slightly turnt off an edible and just being like, oh yeah, it's like a Jupiter 9 lens. Like I can just tell by the bokeh. Like, oh yeah, it's like definitely like a Soviet approximation of like a Leica lens.
No.
Sick. And it's like being like, oh, cool. And Florence Poe looks amazing. It's just like, it's weird to think that like a movie I almost dozed off during because I was kind of high.
Right.
But also at the same time just being like,
the intersection of your interests, I think, is fascinating to me. And like, yeah, this Jupiter 9 lens, and also Florence Poe looks amazing.
Yeah, just like it has everything.
It does. It really does.
Sagib.
No, oh god. I love all the Lisa Al-Gib shit. And,
of course, he would say he's not the Lisa Al-Gib because he's the Lisa Al-Gib.
Which was such a core part of the books, and I think Lynch's Dune left it out to its detriment. And so I'm like, yes, good, we're back. We're back on this shit. We're back on our bullshit. It's great. The whole religious fanaticism aspect of it is like, this is the core of the story. I'm sorry, there's not any other reason to call it the Butlerian Jihad, because jihad is very specific, and that's the word you need to use. That's, to me, like, yes, we got it. You nailed it. Yes, please, more.
Yeah, and it was also one of the few times it felt like outside of like the popcorn bucket that like it kind of permeated like internet culture in a way that felt really organic and fun.
Yeah.
Like last year we had like Barbenheimer and stuff like that.
Which was fine.
But people like doing the sandworm summoning.
Yeah.
That's their cat.
The cat. Yeah. Oh, it works, by the way. If your cat is under the blanket and you start doing that cat is coming for you. It's fantastic. The other movie I have, so I have a bunch of other ones. I'm just going to name them off real quick. The Fall Guy, great little action movie. The Contestant, a fantastic documentary about a real thing that happened to a guy that also ends with an interesting story about hope. And People's Joker, an experimental, weird
Been meaning to watch that.
Story about someone's transition and also really giving it to Lorne Michaels. But my actual number one is Longlegs. I mean, I was a little on the fence when we saw it in the theater, but I've seen it twice since, and I think it's cemented itself for me as like, this is an experiment. This is someone, it's Oz Perkins, someone who's playing with form. You're showing your roots and like, okay, Silence of the Lambs, okay, Seven, here's a scene, that's kind of pulled from this, or kind of pulled from that. But it's making something interesting. The more and more I see it, the more Nicolas Cage's performance just stands out. And the ending of the movie, I think, for me, on repeat viewings, gets better and better. And I think there's a specific moment where you as the audience, everyone is they're holding their breath. And then there's that release of tension, and it's almost funny. And then it's not. Quite possibly one of the better thrillers made since Silence of the Lambs, and I just got to give it the props because it looks like nothing else. All the different details and the background designs and the way certain shots are held for certain very long shots. If you watch the movie, there's these very awkwardly long shots, but it builds to this sense of like tension and unease and like something is wrong here. It stunned me upon repeat viewings every time, and I'm like, okay, well, this clearly means that I'm enjoying this.
There's also like like the devil appearing, and kind of like it's like Tyler Durden in Fight Club, for 1 or 2 frames before he is formally introduced in the movie.
True, yeah, because there are certain moments where you're seeing symbols, and now that you've gone back through the movie, and you're like, oh,
yeah. The second viewing of Long Legs was, I think, way more interesting, way more rewarding than the first. First time we saw it, I was like, "Is this fine?"
Yeah.
And then I watched it on Halloween this year, second time, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this fucks."
Yes, the T-Rex music is just icing, just
Still,
a little.
This is again Nicolas Cage playing what I believe every boomer that really is in the T-Rex is like. That I met that guy working at Guitar Center more than once, and I fucking hated it.
He also looks
upsetting.
Fucking yeah, and it's like, oh, it's a visceral reaction. It's that reaction you have when you like step in dog shit. That's the reaction you have when you see the Nicolas Cage character interacting with normal people.
Yeah,
like, oh, everything in
Dad,
you.
the weird guy's back.
Yeah. That is a line from the movie, by the way, for those of you who have not seen it. That is a line from the movie, and he's the weird guy, and then he's in the car screaming, and like just it's unsettling. It's just it hits you with the heebie-jeebies. You get the whammy. You get a little bit.
You get the shivers.
Yeah, just it's so effective, and I think it's going to be one of those ones where it's going to last a little bit longer than most people might expect something like that. You know what I mean? Like there's going to be a bit of a... People are going to see it again, or people are going to see it for the first time this coming year, and they're going to catch the vibe, I think. Home video and streaming, it's going to find a bit more of its audience, and we're going to see a little bit more people kind of coming along to that. So is there anything films-wise that stood out to you that we haven't had on the list thus far?
Yeah, it's, Dune. I saw TV Glow. Substance.
Yeah, I saw the TV Glow. You're right.
Furiosa.
Okay.
Another movie that was fun, but also did not need to exist.
Maxine? Abigail. Hundreds of Beavers.
Abigail was really good. I think the stuff that I liked that I saw this year, most of it came out last year, I guess.
That is how it tends to be for me too.
Yeah, Alien Romulus was pretty fun. Really a roller coaster ride. Some really great performances, but my issue being that shit ending. Again, great movie, shit ending, and I know you had a feeling about it. Well, it's inconsequential because it doesn't really play into the larger narrative of the Alien,
that
series.
Doesn't really bother me all that much. There's a lot of stuff like that, like the game,
Yeah.
So I mean that's fine, and that's gonna happen.
But you know what? I do have a movie that everyone hates. I didn't hate.
What's that?
Joker 2.
Still haven't seen it. What did you think?
I think it takes some risks, and most certainly not all of them even halfway play out. But the fact that it is adventurous, risk-taking, and tried to do something different, I think it does a lot. It's risk-taking to its own detriment.
Right.
But when it works, I mean, there's some great cinematography. There's some really great acting from Joaquin Phoenix. The script is pretty shit, but the musical stuff is weird in a way that feels subversive. There's really just not a lot out there like it. It feels ambitious.
It's taking swings. It's doing
taking
things.
Swings. Yeah. It's really exploring Arthur Fleck's mental imbalance.
Yeah.
And dealing with celebrity and what's the value of being well known? And it's escaping your own trauma. But really just kind of his downfall is buying his own bullshit.
Right, because as soon as he buys into this character that he's become, he's no longer himself.
Yeah. it deals with, do you want to keep being the persona that people think you are, or do you want to be authentic to yourself?
So it's almost a Kierkegaard thing. About the self and the self that identifies the self,
Sure,
and all
in a
that.
way.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think it's necessarily that deep of a movie, but I don't think
No.
I don't think that's a bad way to read some of the
I'm never gonna say Joker 2 is a philosophically deep movie. I'm just saying, like, there's stuff there.
There's some interesting casting. I think the thing I hate the most about it, honestly, is that they're trying to film LA for New York. And that just fucking rubs me the wrong way. I don't know why, but it's like, this is supposed to be like a New England East Coast city.
Right.
And this is obviously filmed in LA or London. And you can pass off London as New York in some respects if you shoot it right. But for a movie that has a $200 million budget, it doesn't feel like it.
And this is a movie you liked. I'm just gonna clarify.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
clarify.
I didn't hate it.
Okay.
There
All
are
right.
some musical numbers that are really fun. There's a couple scenes in the courtroom that are just so fucking fun. They're so fucking weird. You can tell Joaquin Phoenix is having a hell of a time. It feels like it is trying to take a shot at like 70s masculinity, or like what we think is a sophisticated person, because Arthur Fleck, his expression of Joker is both like this kind of like this agent of chaos, but also like a man who's sophisticated above society. So there's like moments where like a cutaway for a musical bit where Lady Gaga's playing at the piano and he's like on the other end of the baby grand, and he's got like his cigarettes, the lighter, and like the ashtray, and like, you know, he's kind of like smoking a cigarette and he's kind of like fucking digging it and like kind of doing like the frown head nod, like, okay, this is kind of nasty. And like, there's just something about that that's really, there's some liveliness to it.
Yeah.
Something that feels lived in.
Okay.
That I don't think you get with a lot of movies right now. And there's some good camera work. Again, it takes some risks. I wasn't bored. If you were to listen to people on the internet or people like you knew when that movie came out, like opening weekend, you'd think that, like, you know, it fucking gave you like super AIDS.
Right. Yeah.
It gave you the kind of AIDS where, like, man, there's just no hope, man.
No,
like,
just go lay down. Yeah.
Go lay down. Don't worry about it, man. I'll get the door. Is the rest of your life is don't worry, man. I'll get the door. You're that guy that everyone's like, dude, don't even let him get up, man. That might be the last time.
Right.
The AIDS are that bad.
Brian's Last Christmas kind of AIDS. Yeah. That's
Again, like, I'm kind of pointing out its faults, but
Right.
I think despite all that, it ends up being like an interesting movie. Like, but like this. If a movie like this came out like mid 2000s, it probably would have been a hit. It would have been weird and quirky. It would have been like, oh wow, you know, it's like Donnie Darko or some shit. Like, oh, why are you wearing that stupid rabbit suit? You know? Why are you wearing that stupid human suit? I don't know, bitch. Don't say that in my face, Frank.
Yeah. Get out of here with your arm tattoo and the whatnot.
So that person we know that has the Donnie Darko tattoo, I once went with them to Hammond, Indiana, one of the great toilets of this country.
I was gonna say, why?
To pick up a pair of speakers
Oh, okay.
from a Catholic church that realized they didn't need them. They were new in box. The only thing is they were white. And so, getting back to St. Louis, paint them black.
Okay.
And you get to Hammond, Indiana, and boy, it's depressing. I think the newest building I saw was a laundromat.
Whew.
Everything just felt worn in a bad way. It felt like a bad pair of shoes. It felt like a pair of shoes where you could feel every bit of gravel beneath.
Sure.
We get to this Catholic church. I guess the groundskeeper or the building attendant or whatever comes out and greets us, and he's got the speakers in the back of his in the camper of his pickup truck. And, you know, we're loading it up as quick as we can because this dude's is weird. He, like, comes out wearing a giant, like, knit polo. It's a graphic knit polo. And the threads are, from a distance, because it's a bigger fella, up close doesn't look like much, but you get about 10 feet away from, like, oh, it's like an eagle in front of the American flag. And he's just, like, one of those guys that feels like he has never left this town.
Yeah.
The whole entire world has passed him by, and he's just a guy being like, yeah, Diddy Moore. I love it. I don't care about the salt. Just here to have fun. But he's like, he sees my cohort's tattoo, and it felt like we were trying to get this done without having to have like a conversation like that, because it's like nothing makes me really more uncomfortable as a guy from a fucking dead end city like St. Louis is to be somewhere like Jackson, Mississippi, or a Hammond, Indiana, and have some local yokel come at me like I'm like this like crazy city boy.
Yeah.
Because like, dude, do you even know what a city is like? And here's the sad part: is like Hammond is, I only think, like a 30-minute drive from Chicago.
Yeah.
But it feels like a completely different. It feels like a town that Stephen King would write about.
Right.
And he sees the tattoo and he asks my cohort about the tattoo. And you can, I remember looking my cohort in the eye, and we both have like, oh fuck.
Here we go.
And so he tells the guy, like, you know, it's this movie Donnie Darko. He has like some sort of manic episode, and he wakes up in a golf course sand trap, and he has this written on his arm, and it's like the time coordinates for like the end of the world. And this guy not even like just completely does not even seem like any of this resonates. This is a movie. This is a reference to something. He goes, "Oh, the end of the world. You know, our preacher, he talks to God, and he talks about the end of the world all the time. You know, and you know, we're just like, cool, yeah,
all right, man.
And fucking help me." I'm like one of those things where like, wow, you know, we really got to get back to St. Louis. Can you help me load up that second speaker?
Looking at the non-existent watch. Yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
go.
hey, Chumley. Yeah, and it's just like I remember using the bathroom, and it was like I didn't realize that I was like, oh yeah, it's a Catholic grade school.
Oh no.
And so it's like all the bathroom stuff is super tiny, so I just took like a super deep piss into that kid urinal.
Well, I mean, look, what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
You gotta go.
Yeah, that's my Donnie Darko tattoo story.
That's fantastic. So our last thing tonight is going to be the records of the year, and I know that's more.
That's about the only thing I can speak of with any competency.
So for me personally, I have been waiting for a new Johnny Foreigner record for several years. I believe it's 5 years now. And How to Be Hopeful came out in about September, and I have been playing it pretty much nonstop. It is. They're playing the hits, but they're also doing interesting new stuff. As far as bands, they came up in the early 2000s that had kind of an emo sound, that were kind of course, the lead singer, Alexi, will always tell you, yeah, we ripped off a band called Tube Lords. They still have made it their own thing. They took a bit of a 5-year break so that their bass player could have a baby. They'd play a show or two, but now they've got a record out, and they're doing more shows, and they're actually back. And they're one of my favorites from the UK that do have this emo thing going. And boy, Alexi just writes these lines. There's a song called "The Museum of Useless Things." Is fantastic. There's a whole song called "What the Alexi," which is essentially his version of a Hold Steady song. So he's doing more of a spoken word thing. There's a few tracks on there that are very experimental for them. Like "Okay, One More" is, they usually play when they're playing some sort of sparse melodic song. They'll usually end it with some chaotic 30-second thing where they're like, you know, we're gonna be a thrash metal band for like a couple seconds. They don't do that. They just kind of let songs breathe. There's a sense of maturity on it. You know, everyone seems to be aware that they're getting older, and there's this kind of weariness that happens. The first line on the album for the song called Rasheen Gives Advice Now, the first line on the album is "It Gets Worse." So the first song of the album is he's calling his friend Rasheen for help, and then the last song of the album is like, yeah, everything's gonna be fine. And it's this kind of roller coaster of maturity. I think that's kind of neat. And, you know, the record's called How to Be Hopeful, and a lot of the songs are about, like, there's a whole song, Orc Damage, which is kind of out of place because it seems more like a metal track than that, but it is also just about, like, yeah, we're old, yes, but we're going to have fun anyway. And that, to me, is like a punk band reckoning with itself. Sure, things are different now. Yes, you know, this is it. But we're still going to have a good time, and the record is a good time. I always like to hear that. The punk bands getting older, and which also brings me to my second one, which is Blood, Hair, and Eyeballs by Alkaline Trio. Another legacy punk band that I thought was done with when one of the members went to fucking join Blink-182.
Yeah.
I thought, well, that's it for them then. But they got a new drummer, and they kind of picked up right where they left off, and straight out the gate, just an amazing record from a band that's been around this long, because I want to say 2001. So, I mean, they've been around for over 20 years. They're one of the only bands that I've ever thought about getting a tattoo of. So, you already know I'm a diehard, and I'll forgive a lot of bad records. But this one, no forgiveness needed. I've seen every song played live, and they're all bangers. I don't think there's a thing wrong with the album. They're trying some new things, but they're also bringing back some old hits. It's kind of nice. They're doing a little bit of both. Even if other people think it sucks. Nope, sorry. You're nitpicking and biased. Bye-bye. And then I got to give it up for CHROMAKOPIA by Tyler, the creator. Every Tyler record is something new, and this is no exception. I've been fascinated by the fact that he got Sexy Red on a song. She's on Sticky. And the fact that that song is having a bit of a resurgence on TikTok now, where people are going back through Sticky and playing the horn section with whatever instrument they actually play. So there's like a guy who did it on metal guitar, and there's a guy who did it on oboe, and like, but they're all just like burp, 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 because it's a very simple chart, so anyone can play it, and so it's kind of got its second life there. It's really fun. I love Tyler. Lyrically, I think he's really bridging the gap between something like a Wolf and something like an Igor. Somewhere in the middle is this record, and it's like, oh, that's best of both worlds, brother. This is it. He's got nowhere to go it up. I mean, I really liked Call Me If You Get Lost. It was a fun record. That one felt just like, I'm having fun. This is kind of, we're just being silly now. And CHROMAKOPIA does have a mission statement. It is kind of more of a serious record, but there are also songs like Sticky where it's just like a fucking song about fucking. It's great. So, and yeah, you got Sexy Red and Lil Wayne on Sticky. Like, yeah. All right. Let's go.
Guys, Lil Wayne even sound awake. I haven't.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Someone must have like slapped him in the back really hard.
He's only on the record for 20 seconds, and he makes the most of it.
I was gonna say that's about why I imagine you got Lil Wayne before he like goes in apoplectic shock.
And he makes up for it with the fact that like,
God, imagine if you licked Lil Wayne.
I guess like if you licked a toad.
It'd be like doing one of those science experiments that you could only ethically do yourself. Like when like scientists injects himself with like radioactive like liquid for like x-rays and stuff. Like you could make someone lick Lil Wayne.
I think Tyler's done it at least once. But anyway.
Yeah, people are telling me that new Tyler Creator is like tight and shit, and like I guess, like I haven't listened to it because I heard Igor, and Igor was probably my favorite record of 2019.
Yeah.
Still one of my favorite records the last couple years. And, I was like, fuck, maybe he's really going to do like real music, like real rap music. And he's one of those guys that's like, seems to be like a reluctant rapper. And like, it's really more important to like his Wes Anderson shtick or whatever.
Yeah.
Is like the rapping. And like I'm like, oh man, maybe like he's really going to do some cool shit. Like wow. And then Call Me If You Get Lost came out. I'm like, nope. This guy.
You didn't like it.
This guy just wants me to buy a pair of shoes. Sick.
You didn't like?
I didn't like Call Me If You Get Lost. I was like, oh okay. I also like the fake DJ drops and shit.
Oh come on, that's funny. I lost it at that shit.
No, I was like, this sucks. This like,
DJ drum.
No, it sucks. Like I think this is a very unserious record and not in the way that I appreciate.
Okay, I can see that.
It's like, oh, okay, dude. Like seriously, go back to doing your fashion shit, bro. Like that's cool. And then it won a Grammy, I think.
Yeah,
cool. Like a guy, a guy who was doing the equivalent of like, what if we made cool again? It's like,
yeah. Well, that's always been a thing with him, though. It's like. Yeah,
I don't know.
Every once in a while, you'll have a Flower Boy, and then you'll have Cherry Bomb. Like there's no telling where he's gonna go with anything.
Yeah, I mean, I know what like that line Lumberjack though. They call me Lumberjack because I wish a
brother would. Yeah,
like Okay, that's pretty clever.
Pull up in the what the fuck is that, dog?
I mean, like, listen, the record has a couple moments, but like, it does not. I do not think it kicks half as high as Igor. I think Igor is like a fucking masterpiece.
I will not disagree at all on that.
Like, Igor is like probably one of the few records of the last like 5 or 6 years where I actually like, sat down, like really like picked it apart and was like, oh shit. So maybe I'll give this new record a listen. But I swear to God, if I feel like this dude has just like, you know, pulled the rug out from under me and been like, hey, what if I sold you a $200 polo made in Malaysia? Made in a little sweatshop by kids with burn marks on their necks.
I think no, he does not. He does not use another line like "call me little T like baby clothes." So I think he'll be fine.
God damn it,
young T, call me young T.
I think too. Also, like what that was neat about Igor is that people were really digging into the production, and I think that's part of what makes that record really interesting. Is it's like people didn't know. It was weird to find like out the Zoomers didn't know what like lo-fi music was. Everything they were so used to being so overproduced in Pro Tools. Like, it's not like listening to Almighty Defenders where this is like recorded on a fucking Tascam 424 Mark II in some dude's basement in Germany. Like, this is like a still relatively production wise a polished record.
Yeah,
it just has some aesthetic elements to it that
callbacks to that style.
I think some of the equipment, it's more like the equipment he's using, not how it was mastered. You know, maybe a little bit hampered by the equipment used. Boy, you have this posture you're adopting, like, oh god, I don't want to hear Brian going on about like, well, you know, if he was using condenser microphones with a 45 axis basis off of the sound source, you know, that could give him a different sort of mid cut. And then, you know,
some people might, but I'm sitting here going, oh yeah, he's right.
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm just like fucking rambling. I'm like, yeah, you know what? My dad used to steal copies of Mix magazine from the grocery store for me. So that's how I know. This is how I know how I can even bullshit through half this. Anyways,
it's highbrow and lowbrow. That's
so
where you're at.
For records, I think this year was a pretty interesting year for music. I was hoping for bands like Amyl and the Sniffers and High Vis to deliver another fucking banger. I think that Amyl and the Sniffers record is a little bit of a victim of the band's own success.
True.
Have you given it a listen?
I have, yeah, and there's a few standouts.
My Bikini, Chewing Gum, Big Dream. You Can't Be Doing That, or whatever that song's.
You should not be doing that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the lead songs, the songs that people heard first, are the standouts. And
I don't know, I got a soft spot for Jerkin. That's a great lead track for track one, side one.
Yeah, Jerkin's great. Like but overall, it just feels like too reactive.
It's also too long for such a not necessarily a gutter punk, but more like a Riot Girl type record. It's too long.
Yeah,
it's like 2 or 3 songs could be just.
I don't think I've listened to it front to back probably more than 5 times.
Yeah,
I was just like, oh wow, that's bummer. Like, I'll just go back to the songs I like. I have them on playlists.
Yeah.
I do not need to like go through that. And like the High Vis record's fine. Mm-hmm. I think I need to spend more time with it to have like a real definitive feeling. But like, I still think High Vis is a great band. I still think they're a fantastic live band. Mm-hmm. I think that new record, like the Amyl and Sniffers, has a couple songs that really stand out. But on the whole, I don't know if it sticks together. That being said, there are a few records out there that really surprised the fuck out of me. I think, first of all, the new Cursive, the name of which, Devourer?
Yeah, Devourer, yeah, you were right.
Yeah, really just, the first listen, I was like, oh, he's back on the juice. Yeah. Which is a nice way of saying, like, oh, this guy's going to have to go to rehab again soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, the first track one, side one, I always judge an album by its track one, side one, and Botch Job, like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
That was it for me. I'm like, I'm locked in.
The chorus is, this is not what you thought this life was going to be like. You know?
Like, all right.
And it's just like that main melody that's just real fucking hectic.
Mm-hmm.
It's really an incredibly heavy, lyrically sophisticated record. It does not leave any confusion to what feelings are being expressed.
Not ambiguous at all, no.
And I think it is so focused. And we've talked before on a previous episode. I believe you brought the song Dark Star. I think lyrically might be one of the strongest. I think compositionally is also one of the strongest records, but lyrically is like, fuck, man. Like, I went after you said that, I'm like, let me go back and give it a fair listen to the lyrics. It's been a second. I'm like, no, this is.
Well, that and the lead in to that song, the song before is called Bloodbather. Woo.
Yeah, I still think Dead End Days
Yeah.
is another like, whoa, where the fuck did this song come out? Like, and songs like Rookie, there's only like one or two songs there I think are a little slumpish, but it's only because the rest of the record I think is a little bit more feverish in pace and a little bit more directed. And anywhere else in the Cursive canon, the songs that are a little the lesser enjoyable songs would have been standouts on those. So, particularly the last couple records. But I was like, holy shit, what a fuck! And it feels like it's been widely ignored.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people wrote him off after a while.
Well, listen, Tim Casher's back on the junk, folks. He's writing the hits. See him before he dies.
Well, there's that. But like, not since Happy Hollow, I think, have I heard a Cursive record this like vital to listen to, this essential.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Because like Happy Hollow, woo. But yeah, I think this one's right up there, which is it's not damning with faint praise. By the way, this is someone I had Domestica for the first couple months it was out, and I was screaming at everyone who would listen to this fucking record. I swear to God. So it's just somebody who knows. It does feel like, you had Mama, I'm Swollen, you had, like good.
The whole discography for
good
Cursive
records.
Yeah.
They're good records.
I mean, Man Kim can't fucking touch it.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. No question. But like good records, but this one is a great record. You know what I mean? Like
it might arguably be the best Cursive record. It really feels like neck and neck with Ugly Organ to me.
Ooh, okay.
As far as just the focus and the pathos.
It is certainly a vitriolic. He's spraying venom on this album.
Yeah, it's just unapologetically open and pointed, and fuck, man, some really great riffs. It feels like everyone just fucking was locked in. That's just how I feel about it. And I'm going to say this is maybe my record of the year. However, it's really hard to say because there is a toss up here, because there is another band that kind of came out of nowhere, not necessarily out of nowhere, but like a record that I think most people would say that, oh, Mannequin Pussy's got a new record. I bet it slaps, but no one I think was ready for I Got Heaven.
Oh no, I certainly was not.
The first time I gave it a listen, I was like, oh shit, oh fuck. I fucking probably listened to that record every day at the job I had when it first came out. And I think I was annoying the fuck out of people. 'Cause I'm just like, this is fucking, the fucking first song.
Yeah, track one, side one. I Got Heaven. Boom.
Boom. Like, I mean, that and Big Dog.
Loud Bark.
Loud Bark, sorry. And like Loud Bark. Like, just having those two songs. I mean, the first four songs are just absolute, like, one after another, just really run a gambit of what that band can do, and what Missy can do vocally as just like an incredible front person vocalist. Also having your lead single have the lines, what if Jesus Christ himself ate my fucking snatch? I mean, it's a very angry, horny, thoughtful record.
Yeah.
And the fact that like all the lead singles, all the stuff that's been put forefront is like the more melodic but heavy stuff, but there's also like 2 or 3 songs in there just like fucking hardcore records where you just want to beat the shit out of some dude with a shopping cart.
Yes.
Okay. Aching.
Yeah.
The bass player who escapes me all the fucking time. Like, he fucking hits the vocals and just adds this whole entire edge to the record. It just really runs the gambit of like energy, but it's all coherent. It's not like a record where you're going to be sitting around thinking about like the guitar tones or anything, but you really do think about the feeling, the percussion, just the impact, the vibe the record embodies, and might be my favorite show of the year. Seeing Mannequin Pussy live, and just people ask me, because big music nerd guy, and people ask me like, oh, what was your favorite show of the year so far? And I'm like, oh, Mannequin Pussy, and they're just like, what? And they're like, what was your favorite show? Like, oh, I saw Pink. And I'm sure Pink, I have heard Pink puts on a great show. So I'm I'm not going to say like, oh, you really like seeing Pink in concert. Wow, well, fucking plebeian. But like, it feels really weird that like, you just want to like shout from the rooftops, like, this record fucking is amazing. This is an amazing live band. And I think what I really loved about seeing them live was that a lot of bands I feel treat St. Louis like a rest stop.
Yeah.
And that did not at all feel like the case here. It felt like this was the same amount of energy they would give Chicago, Atlanta, and they gave it to a 700 cap room in St. Louis when they were, selling out 23 cap rooms in other markets. I think something I really enjoyed was just how subversive it became of a performance live. Because when I'd seen them with AJJ and Joyce Maynard a couple of years ago in Memphis, I mean, it was just kind of like a straightforward, like, fucking garage punk band. And she was playing a lot more guitar. Like, it just felt like a little bit more straightforward. But I could tell they had the goods, and I was like, oh, shit, this band, I heard some good stuff about this band. Holy fuck, okay, I'm going to pay attention to these guys. And that was a lie. But I still like every single time they had a new record come out, I'd give it a listen. Like, they were not a band I consistently listened to. I'm like, oh, shit, okay, yeah, what are they doing? I'm like, okay, this record's cool, and I forget to come back to it. But to see Missy kind of do this subversive sex kitten thing in between songs, and really, if you thought you were just going to see like a fucking punk show and your idea of punk is really limited, it probably blew your fucking brains. Just they have this woman who looks like a fucking smoke show talking about fucking capitalism and bullshit, and like how Missouri is an anti-human state. And it's like, yeah, actually it is. This is a pretty anti-person place to be.
Yeah.
And St. Louis in particular feels pre-anti-person. Feels very pro-capital.
Oh, yeah.
Feels very anti-human life. And so it is also to have someone on stage criticize Missouri and St. Louis and not have it be like, I'm from New York or whatever.
Right.
Really more like,
very different.
Like there's systematic issues in the United States that are being very well expressed in the state you live in, and you should recognize it and resist it. Which I think is a much better argument than like, oh wow, your pizza sucks.
And right, you're like, you guys are dumb hicks.
Yeah. It's more like if you're at this show, you probably recognize something is wrong with your surroundings and your environment and how people are treated, and you're not crazy for feeling that way. Which, looking at some of the young people in that crowd, I could really see the fucking gears turning, and I'm like, oh shit, this is cool. This is so fucking cool. And also like being in the back near some of that stuff and seeing like the parents of some of these kids looking really fucking uncomfortable, and I just wanted I was fucking having a blast watching that.
Oh yeah.
Like the probably last third of that set was just watching these fucking dads trying to watch like football game on their phones and stuff. They're just so uncomfortable in their stools, and like,
they're going red in the face.
Oh, dude, like, yeah, your kid's gonna hate you, and your kid has every right, you fucking bloated piece of shit. Like, yeah, how does it feel? Like you've like, yeah, dude, what's up? What's up, man? You thought shit was gonna be sweet? You took your kid to a band called Mannequin Pussy, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, what you think was gonna happen? They ain't no kumbaya. I mean, it was such a good fucking set. Fucking, if you haven't listened to that record, go fucking listen to it.
Yeah.
And, just say pussy.
Yeah, just say pussy.
Just say pussy. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's not a dirty word.
And boy, if I had to pick a third record, that's tough.
I know it is. It really is.
I wish I could say Hell Mode again.
Yeah, right?
But if I had to go by my Spotify Wrapped,
okay.
I think probably it would be Chat Pile.
Oh, okay.
Cool World.
All right.
I just love the aesthetic of that record, the feeling. It just feels nasty and worn and dirty and nihilistic in a way that I don't think it's been explored recently. And someone out there, but what about Slipknot? Who gives a fuck about Slipknot? I'm not playing the 8-string guitar while a dude beats the shit out of a keg with like a fucking wrench.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, dude. I listen to real music like Bill Bev DeBoe.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, I don't know, there's Slipknot's got a couple of slappers, but that record is like the first time I sat down and like really listened to it. I'm like, oh, I'm actually like kind of like uneasy.
Okay.
And
I like that feeling. When a record hits you in that spot and you're like, ooh.
I describe it as like, it feels like a record written by a bunch of dudes that were doing CrossFit in like a sweaty warehouse. Like fucking busting cigarettes, drinking like dirty water from a tap, and like listening to like an audio tape of The Road. Just guys just fucking maxing out their reps, but also just chain smoking, not having the window open. It's hazy, and they're just like, "Cool, I feel like shit. You want to write a record?" And some other dude whose like lung is half collapsed is like, "Yeah, let's go. Let me mic up the drum set."
The one song I really have listened to from that record over and over again is Frownland. I know. But it just hits, man. It does what it needs to do. Damn, it's dirty.
It's filthy.
Yeah.
It's just a nasty ass little record. I'm a little bummed I missed them. I think every time I mention this record on the show, I'm bummed I missed them at Off Broadway earlier this year. But the next time Chap Howell comes in, I definitely want to come see them.
I'll make it right.
Yeah, and also I found out what chat is. It's like a runoff from like an extraction process of like lead.
Oh shit! Okay.
So it's like a toxic runoff or like a toxic byproduct of a extraction process. And apparently there's just piles of that shit all over certain parts of Oklahoma.
Oh.
Yeah. So
that makes sense. That makes the name even more like, this is just nasty.
It's just, fuck, man. There's also some shit that guy says in that record, just like, I think it's like Camcore or whatever. He's just like, play it again.
Oh, yeah.
Play it again. And it's just, ooh.
Yeah. Well, it's like that, I was thinking it's like that Idols. Sometimes some of the shit the guy says in Idols are like,
damn, dude. Like, are you allowed to say that? Like,
yeah, you're not saying anything necessarily filthy,
but the implications.
Yeah, there it is. Yes.
What your imagination fills in is quite something else. And an honorable mention, just because it's another band I kind of regret missing their recent stop here in St. Louis, is the new Cheek Face.
Oh gosh, I didn't even realize they had a new one out.
I think I talked about it.
I think you did. Yeah.
A really fucking weird upbeat record with insane lyrics and concepts. I had no idea.
Oh, it's sorted. You're damn right. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like as if Lumpy and the Dumpers made like a Talking Heads record.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Because lyrically is as absurd as the Lumpy and the Dumpers or a Cal and the Calories song or a Soup Activist song. Absolutely unhinged and funny and catchy.
Well, that's what caught my eye. What caught my ear with them when Too Much to Ask came out. I was like, oh, what the? Okay.
Yeah, and right. Like it's a song that's like very fucking funny, but also like fucking slap. It's like like to me the ultimate song that's really fucking funny and weird, but from a structural standpoint is like kind of phenomenal. Is like Catholic Girls by Frank Zappa.
Yes,
because like that's such an absurd fucking song, but the vocal melodies and like that fucking breakdown. It's such a cool fucking song.
Oh, if you were talking about Talking Heads, I mean, they did it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. I can hear that influence all over Cheek Face, like the Talking Heads especially. Like, oh yeah,
it's like
he's
doing a little Weird Al in there.
Yeah, in that like he's kind of tongue in cheeking it, like we're in on the joke sort of, but it's also
America's local band.
I forgot about that.
I think there was a band here in St. Louis called Exploding Cigars, and their Bandcamp is still up, thank God. But they were like one of those bands that they would play the Firebird, and I think Bert stopped booking them because he just couldn't figure them out. Like, because their songs are like, it's a song about raping a woman, but it's okay, and you're like, huh? But they were like doing like a weird like lounge singers thing.
Oh boy.
But it's just like what the fuck is this? Who is this for?
Yeah.
Do you guys skin animals in your free time? He's like, is there not a lot of stray animals where you live, huh? They don't really last on the street that long, huh?
I've always wondered about their collection of little shoes. Yeah.
Yeah, just like I went and like the last thing on like their Facebook page I think was like releasing a Christmas song, and I'm like, oh, is this a song about like fucking getting a foot job from Santa? Fucking old Jolly Saint Nick.
Yeah.
But instead of Saint Nick, it's the N-word.
Oh.
Like that was like the weird thing where I was like, this is like really offensive. I don't know if this is a bit. Like this feels like an unwell person.
Right.
Saying to a stranger, I've sucked 32 dicks.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like, how do you respond to that? What is it? What's the answer?
Cheek Face feels like the ideal of that kind of like strange band that's never going to leave this town.
Right.
But you're also never going to forget them. I'm
No.
never going to forget Exploding Cigar because it's like, it felt like watching someone confess to a crime, like a heinous crime.
They're all safe now. Like, yeah, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I read the statute of limitations, so I can speak about this freely.
Right. So I have not caught up with Cheek Face because I think, like I said, the last thing I had was the Too Much to Ass record.
Yeah.
So good.
Too much to ass.
Too much ass. Too much ass.
Too much.
Well, I guess that about does it for the program.
What year? What another garbage year on this garbage planet? Hey, there's gonna be like a new Coldplay record next year, so we got that to look forward to.
Fantastic.
Great, yeah. There might be another Barbie movie.
Cool.
Yeah.
I guess.
You know, what I would love to see is Greg Gerwin remake Boys Don't Cry.
Or Sallow.
Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah. See. Yeah. Greta, call us.
I got some ideas. I got some casting ideas. What's Cher up to?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Doom Generation. Let's have Cher and Doom Generation remake. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here. We could have the all-male remake of Martyrs. You know, I mean, let's shoot for the moon here.
Oh gosh, Martyrs remake with Jake Paul and Logan Paul.
Ooh, and just to be, really authentic, do it for real. Yeah.
No CGI. We told Tom Savini to sit down.
Yep.
No makeup.
We're
doing it live. We're gonna make those boys see God.
Well, speaking of seeing God, Brian, where can they find you online?
If you want to know me
in
the biblical sense, you can find me on Twitter at IShotGuydebord. ISHOTGUYDBORD. You can find me over there on Instagram at a music photographer. If you want to check out my music portfolio, my music photography portfolio more specifically, you can go over to Asshole Music Photographer. If you want to see a website that's going to give you a 505 error, you can go over to musicphotographer.com. If you want to check out the last good, basically only media website less in St. Louis, or alt media website, I suppose would be a more punctual, pointed way to put it. You can go over to theartsstl.com. They had something like 100, 200 days in a row with new content posts every day. That just ended. So there's a lot of shit to read. There's movie reviews, there's album reviews, there's lots of live music reviews. Laura Drill just posted her Franz Ferdinand photos. She got some good stuff. I got some good stuff too. I also just have like zero free time to fucking do everything.
That's the whole thing. Yeah.
The whole thing. It must be nice. It must be nice to have a living wage or have a paycheck that looks okay and you only work 40 hours a week. Real blessings for some people out there. This is not a point. This is not anything against Laura because she's a very nice person and a very good photographer. It's just more like I'm just more angry at capitalism.
Yeah.
Let's make that clear. Like Laura is an innocent person in this story. I'm more talking about the circumstances of existence that perturb me. Oh, I think that's it. What you got, Big J?
Oh boy. You can find me a number of places online as Videocrime, VIDEOCRIME. If there's a video crime, chances are that's me. I also am part of a podcast that's not this one called Submitted for the Approval of the Midnight Pals. There I play a fictionalized version of horror writer Stephen King. New episodes in January. You can check that out at midnight-pals.simplecast.com or anywhere podcasts are sold. Just search up Midnight Pals. You can reach this show in a number of ways. My personal favorite is the cell phone, 314-246-9766. That's 314-AHOY POO. You can also shoot us an email, Jason at 8 minutesofdogsbarking.com, Brian with a Y at 4 8 minutesofdogsbarking.com. Support the show, patreon.com/for 8 minutes of dogs. There you will find our weekly post-show hangout called Thanks I Hate It, plus whatever else we decide to put online. If you're hearing this on Christmas, you got a couple days left to get in for the 90-minute commentary track on the Japanese puke fetish video Gero Monster Home Delivery delivered to your inbox in early January once we have finished watching it and cleaning up after ourselves. Be on the lookout for that. That goes until the end of the year. Next year, we'll have another punishment tier that won't hopefully be so gross. Well, as we always say at this time, namaste, good luck, give mommy a good gut fucking, eat the knife. And who ate all the pussy?
It
was you.
Vivi Ramaswamy.